Okay, it is 3 o'clock. I will go ahead and call the meeting to order. Today, this is the Fargo Planning Commission, Tuesday, September 4th at 3 o'clock. Announcements. A reminder for everyone to join Code Connect, which is a live online information session about the Fargo LDC 2026. That will be next Thursday, September 11th at noon. Session features update, context, and question answers about the effort to update Fargo Land Development Code. Visit fargoldc.org to learn more information about the project and how to get involved. No changes to the agenda today, so do we have a motion?
So moved.
Motion and second?
Second.
Motion and second. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion approved. Minutes of the regular meeting of August 5th, 2025. Have you had time to review minutes? Any changes? If not,
I move to approve.
motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Any changes? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Public hearing. First item is 1 Alpha Bravo Charlie, 45th Street Park, 6th edition with Megan.
Good afternoon, Chair and Planning Commissioners. Item 1A, B, and C is an application for a minor subdivision, a zoning change, and a planned unit development master plan. So this is 45th Street Park 2nd edition and 45th Street Park 6th edition. So the general area here, it's along 45th Street, Main Avenue, if you're following my cursor. 2nd Avenue is just north of the subject property, and then just west here is Drain 40. Some images of the site. So in the bottom right, there's a few images. This is a pretty large building, a pretty large site, so we'll have a couple of images just for your reference. So this is at the south side of the property looking north at the existing building today, and 45th Street would just be on your left. This is looking from 2nd Avenue south, looking towards the south, looking into the property. And this is from the southeast corner, looking into the property. You can see the back of the building. And then another image looking north of the back of the building. And then this is just a small portion on the south side included in the subject property, which is a portion of Drain 40 that is open. So one quick note, the property owner, this is West 45th Business Park, as well as the Southeast Cass Water Resource District as a property owner. So they own the piece of property that the drain is on, and the drain is covered for a portion of it, and so they are an applicant in the application as well as part of this project. So up on your screen, so the 3 parts, it's a minor subdivision with a subdivision setback waiver, zoning change, and PUD master land use plan. So the zoning change would be from LI industrial with a conditional overlay. You can see those 2 properties here in the west. And general commercial to general commercial with a PUD overlay, and then a planned unit development master land use plan. So those are 2 components of the overall 3 components of a PUD. The other component are the PUD final plans, which are essentially the permit plans and would come at a later point in time. You can also see across the street here, across 45th Street, is the City of West Fargo, and then on the east side is a City of Fargo-owned detention pond. So the boundaries of the applications are just slightly different. The black boundary is the zoning change and master plan, and then the blue boundary is just the subdivision, the minor subdivision. So the Southeast Cass Water Resource District property here on the west side is not part of the subdivision. So the applicant is proposing a redevelopment of the site, and I'll talk a little bit about those changes here shortly, but to accommodate a redevelopment to an innovation center titled Cove. This is a Center for Innovative Ventures and Entrepreneurs. So the proposal would be to add residential living and industrial uses kind of contained within the existing structure in addition, and some buildings in the rear to be more of an innovative hub, so to speak. So residential living here, entrepreneurial workspaces, community services, all in a campus like setting. The proposal's for approximately 225 residential units. There'd be underground parking in the addition, which is the building you're seeing here. So this is just a rendering, just to note, so it doesn't mean the building will look exactly like this, but just to give you an idea of what the potential for the building is. So there's commercial here, retail, primary entrance. You're viewing towards the east. Behind would be 45th Street. And then up to about 5 stories here, or 85-foot max in height for the building addition. About 200,000 or a little bit more square foot of innovation-oriented uses and supporting community amenities. And then in your packet, there's a statement of the intent for the development, as well as some additional pages on Cove specifically and the type of amenities that are being proposed at the site. So up on your screen, north, this is a little bit different configuration. North is to the right, so 45th Street is up at the top of the screen. If you recall, and I can pop back, but the current existing is in the darker shade. And it does extend today a little bit further in the 3 points, 2 on the side and 1 in the center, a little bit towards 45th Street. So what the project would entail is kind of cutting off those points a bit, and then providing an addition here, which is primarily residential units, except for a little bit of commercial space towards the center, and then underground parking in the building, and then reconfiguration or rehab of the existing structure, changing that, and then the potential for 2 future buildings in the rear. One note you'll notice here on the side, you might wonder what this is. They are seeking a tenant as to have a daycare here, and so if they're able to secure a daycare, parking that's existing today would remain unless a daycare tenant is secured, and then would change to an open space. So the master plan contemplates either scenario here. And then there's pedestrian connectivity throughout, and then this parking lot between 45th Street and the addition would be reconfigured with much of the parking kind of towards the rear as it exists today. Up on your screen is just schematic of landscaping of what it could look like. All the landscaping requirements, save for a couple modifications I'll talk about later, will still need to be met on site. And then in here, there'll be a rendering upcoming is kind of a courtyard space where you'll see what that quality of that space is intended to look like. I won't talk much about these renderings. These are just renderings the applicant has provided, and the applicant may want to speak about these, but I'll pause for a couple seconds on each so you can take a look. Here is that courtyard space that I was pointing out a minute ago. That's the courtyard space again. And then this would be the front entry. So as you were coming in, that main entry from the west side of the building into this space. So in your packet is a draft of the PUD overlay, and I'll go through them briefly here, but if there's any questions, let me know. The PUD would allow residential and industrial use, so this would be more of those innovative type of industrial uses interior to the building. Residential density would be a minimum of 13 units per acre. Parking, there's a request to reduce parking for residential as well as establish a parking ratio for research and development use. Talk about that in a little bit. Establishes the front back essentially from that west property line along 45th Street, because the Southeast Cass Water Resource District will keep their property under their ownership. So ultimately there will be 2 lots here. So it's establishing where that front property line is. There's a request to waive parking lot buffers. There is improvements in the right-of-way along 45th Street and 2nd Avenue South that have additional landscaping in there, and the applicant is working, or owner is working with the city to secure encroachment agreements so that those would be maintained. And then a request to reduce the placement of landscaping from 30% in the front, 70% in the front to 30%. So dispersing the landscaping a little bit more on site. Building height would be 85-foot maximum, a minimum of 15% open space, and then establishing that residential protection standards don't apply. And then there would be an additional set of standards. This is similar. Your board a couple of months ago reviewed the J&O development on 45th Street. Also had kind of additional standards in there. It's pretty common, and they're pretty standard for the most part to what conditional overlays would be on our arterial streets in Fargo. So additional standards on building materials, color schemes, facade treatment, screening of nuisances, requiring pedestrian circulation, and prohibiting certain uses. So also in your packet is a parking study that was provided that states a maximum demand of 943 parking spaces. There's a typo in the staff report, so 943. Include citations from the Institute of Transportation Engineers as the Generation Manual 6th edition, as well as the MetroCog Parking and Access Study. In that, they are recommending to reduce residential to 1.5 spaces per unit, and then establish that research and development use as 2.77 per 1,000 square feet, or that equates to about one space for 361 square feet. The residential unit makeup and this development mostly are 1 and 2 bedrooms, so 7 efficiencies, and this is just what kind of they're proposing today, could change a little bit. 7 efficiency units, 105 1-bedroom units, 98 2-bedroom, and 15 3-bedroom units. And so with land development code requirements. So except for the residential ratio and the research and development ratio, every other use would be per the land development code. So when you combine what those requirements would be with their requests for the parking modifications and what they're anticipated for the square footage breakout, would require about 964 spaces. And there's 1,101 proposed on site, so that's about an excess of 137 spaces. So that gives a little bit flexibility, a little bit overage in terms of if there's some extra residential parking, a couple residential units, or a change in some of that square footage. So up on your screen is the plat. There's a lot of easements and things going on here, and you could see overhead power lines in some of those images. But again, the Southeast Casswater Resource District lot is just outside the bounds of the plat. What this plat does, it's a minor subdivision, would just establish the existing 4 properties into one lot. And so this property under the one ownership would be one lot, and then Southeast Cass would be maintaining their lot outside of it. Whoops. So with the minor subdivision, there's also a waiver for the drain setback. So per the land development code, there's a 175-foot setback required. Staff has been coordinating with the engineering department as well as Southeast Casswater Resource District staff, and have confirmed that the necessary right-of-way, this is an underground for the most part, underground drain, the necessary right-of-way is there, and so there's no need for any additional right-of-way for the drain, therefore the waiver for the drain setback. We've received one inquiry from one individual. There's a letter included in your packet. Nate Volmuth with Goldmark Design and Development is here, as well as other project representatives. And staff's recommendation is up on your screen.
Thank you, Megan. Commissioners, what are your questions for Megan? Go ahead.
When, Megan, maybe 2-3 years ago, was this property up for discussion as well, too, for industrial use? And
Yes.
do you recall what the nature of that was?
Yes, thank you for that question, Commissioner. A couple of years ago, I can dig into the year specifically if we want, but there's 2 conditional use permits that exist today. Sorry, I've got a lot of slides. I'm going to pop up to an aerial image that allowed industrial uses to occur in the existing structure. One CUP is right on this north property, and the other is on that south property. So within that building allows industrial uses. Those projects did not occur, and I don't know if there was one or multiple, but at least one located in a different area of town. So really, I don't think those CUPs were ever used. And with this PUD, those CUPs would effectively go away or not be necessary if this project is approved.
Any other questions? Go ahead and invite the applicant up.
Thank you, Commissioners. Nate Volmuth with Goldmark Design and Development, architectural firm. With me tonight, I don't have a whole lot to add. Megan did a great job. We've been working with Megan and staff for last couple of months on the project. As you can see, we've continued it to try to refine our project plans to bring the best foot forward at the meeting tonight. So I just want to introduce a couple people that are here. If there's any questions that you have, we should have the partners of the project to be able to answer any of those questions. So David Wood and Sean Kessel from Roars Construction are here. Alex Larson from Bolton and Mink is our traffic engineer, and Tony Uckel from MBN is our civil engineer. And so the only couple things I want to add to what Megan did is that we are still looking at the project, the unit counts. We are looking at potentially increasing the unit counts, not dramatically, but we're at 225 right now. We're looking at anywhere in the range of 225 to 250. We did a great job with Megan helping us out, and with Alex from our traffic analysis, that we have a gap of about 137 excess stalls right now. And if we were to add those 30 units, 25 units, we'd still have roughly 100 excess stalls from our parking study. So I did want to bring that forward just in case when we get to the final PUD master plan, if the unit count changes slightly, then that I just want to speak to that quickly during this meeting. But any questions that you have for me or for the other part of the development group,
Did you
love
want
to
to add
answer them.
anything, the CUPs that we approved before they weren't used, correct?
Correct. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, both of those tenants either didn't come fruition at this site or they found other location in town.
Commissioners, what are your questions?
Nate, what is the current height of the buildings on that site?
The current two-story West 45th, I believe it has about a 14-foot floor-to-floor height. So with the parapets and with the angle at the top, I would say it's probably 30 feet tall to the top of the parapet currently.
So the maximum we're looking at here is almost double?
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's basically the 85-foot is the max that we could go with the building construction type that we're looking at to do. That rendering is probably at about 70 feet tall right now, but we've given ourselves a little bit of variance basically from that unit count standpoint, because we're doing some unique things with this building. The top floors are actually two-story mezzanine type units, and so we're playing around with our elevations in regards to the unit type to give it a different unit mix. And so we've given ourselves that more or less that 15 foot of excess height to continue to play with those elevation studies.
You know, we've had this site in front of us a couple different times, I think now. And, you know, maybe you can speak to the evolution of how you got to this rather creative plan for redevelopment of this site.
I can speak to it a little bit, and I'll maybe ask David or Sean to speak to it. We've looked at multiple different scenarios. We've probably started on the project 2 years ago, I would say. Our first concept was to actually build residential units on top of the existing building. And after a lot of structural review and discussions back and forth, we've kind of progressed to where we're at today, which essentially what would happen on site is, I don't know if, Megan, you can bring up the site plan quickly or not, but if you were to look at the existing site right now, where there's the notches on the darker orange, those actually extend out in about another 25 to 30 feet. If you were to look at the actual image of the building, there's more to that existing building than there is shown on this. So basically, we're demoing off the westmost part of the building to make room for the 30-foot fire access aisle, and then the 66 roughly foot apartment mixed-use complex on the front. So it's been a progression to basically rejuvenate the site. It's a great site that's being underutilized right now because it's mostly open office, which during COVID was hurt pretty significantly, and so we're trying to find a new creative use for the site and essentially redevelop it. So.
Any other questions?
This might be a different topic for, maybe for the city, but you guys have talked about the stormwater runoff. Can you kind of elaborate on which way the water's gonna go? Because I've personally driven 45th and seen the ditches full, and this looks like a lot of pavement. Is this a stormwater pond to the east of you guys, right here?
Yeah, I can elaborate with that, and I might ask Tony to come up. But to the south of the screen, which is the east side, is an existing stormwater pond. I believe the water flows to that pond, and then it sits, and then it goes back out through the south side, which would be the left side, in that parking lot, goes back into this, into the drain. The site actually isn't increasing in any impervious. It's actually decreasing slightly. I don't know what it is right now. It's like 14% right now, and we're gonna be at 15% when the project's over with. And so we actually aren't making it, we shouldn't be producing any more runoff than we are today.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
I have just a quick question. Can you just, I think I understand it, but how does underground parking entry and exit work?
Currently on the north side, which would be the right side where that access point in comes in from the street, there's a parking ramp entrance at that location right now, which would access the entire building. They would enter and exit that same access point. We just built, actually for Roar's, a Metro, which is on South 45th Street, which has 150 units, 160 units, and it has, so it's a little bit less than this, but it has a similar singular ramp access point, which has been working out pretty well. It's you can have traffic in and out at the same time, but
Okay, thank you.
yep.
Any other questions?
Just a question for Megan. You know, when we've gone through and proceeding through a land development code and moving forward, we anticipate not even discussing parking, correct?
I might refer to our director or assistant director, but I think we know that in the land development code, you know, your board does see from time to time parking reductions, being creative with parking, and so there are some land uses we know that aren't maybe quite the right ratio, and so certainly parking is going to be studied, and making sure that it's right sized for what is needed. And you know, your board you see a lot of these types of requests or conditional use permits for residential and commercial, so having that mixed use outside of our DMU and UMU zoning districts. And so, you know, when we see there's kind of that shared parking, a lot of our parking studies will point to that. And so there may be some opportunities there when it comes to mixed use. So I'm not sure if maybe my directors may have some more to comment on that.
Yeah, I think that sums it all up. I know there's been discussions in the land development code to try codifying this project as an actual zoning district. This area was identified in the growth plan as an area of interest to incentivize infill and redevelopment. There's a lot going on here, so I'm not 100% sure how that's going to work in the land development code.
Any other questions? Okay, anything else to add?
Nope.
No.
Thank you.
Let's go ahead and open up public hearing. Anybody wish to speak on this item? Anybody wish to speak? Seeing none, let's go ahead and close the public hearing. Commissioners?
I'll make a motion to accept it.
Yep, I'll second it.
All right, we got a motion, we got a second. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, go ahead and take the roll.
Shuey,
Aye.
Rosenberg,
Aye.
Diesel,
Aye.
Stoffren, Ass,
Aye.
Mose,
Aye.
Tassa.
Aye, motion carried. Thank you very much for all the work, to both of you, to all of you, to planning. You could tell when the packet is really thick how much work that was, so thank you very much for bringing us all the detail, making that easy for us. Donald, item number 2 is Bison Run Edition.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Donald Kress from the Department of Planning and Development. Our next item here, item 2, is the Bison Run Edition. If you follow my cursor here, it's located on the corner of 11th Avenue South or 11th Avenue North and 17th Street North. Just for reference, here's T Lofts, here's NDSU, of course, and Johnson Park. This is a minor subdivision to combine all of Lot 9 and portions of Lot 10 and 11, Block 3 of Beardsley's addition. Just some views of the project site from yesterday, from the corner of 11th Avenue and 17th Street, looking diagonally down the street, and then here looking the other way down the street. This is 1102 17th Avenue, or 17th Street North. There was a residence here. It has been demolished. This residence in the background is on a separate property that's not part of this subdivision. And then this is the property at 1110. And then this is the alley behind here. They're actually, this house has a garage that you can see through here, but you don't see that in this picture. But just to get an idea of what the alley looks like behind there, again, a lot of denser residential there. This is in the UMU zone, the University Mixed Use Zone, which is our only zone that has a minimum density rather than a maximum density. As indicated here, the UMU zoning. And just fairly straightforwardly, the plat here, here's Lot 9 and portions of Lots 10 and 11, combining in an L-shaped property here to combine all these properties in one lot that's owned by Bison Run Rentals, which is Nicholas and Betsy Yanez Rich, who are with us this afternoon. This property is not part of it. This is where that house in the background was. This property is not part of the subdivision. Commissioners, in your packet, it was mentioned that this applicant went before the Economic Development Incentives Committee regarding an incentive. And that's just in there for your reference. Your commission's not voting on that today, but we just wanted to have that as background for you. Some of you may have seen that or heard about that, so we just want to make sure you knew where that was at. So there is no site plan or incentive that you'll be voting on today here. The staff's recommended motion is stated in your staff report and shown on the screen, and Nicholas Yanez Rich and Betsy Yanez Rich are with us this afternoon, and they wish to address the commission. We did get one phone call about this from a neighbor who was just curious as to what was going on. We have not received any opposition. That concludes staff's presentation. Thank you.
Thanks, Donald. Commissioners, any question for Donald? I did watch that economic incentive, so they conditionally, at that meeting, they conditionally approved it, bearing it goes through, our, and gets approved, so conditionally approving it going through the normal process. So I think that's what the determination was at incentive committee, just so, for your awareness. No questions? Invite the applicant up.
Good afternoon. I'm Andrew Thill with Lowry Engineering, representing the owners. We are here to answer any questions if there are any, and we also have the owners and the architect is here as well. So.
Any questions for the applicant, commissioners? Seeing none?
Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead and open up public hearing. Anybody wish to speak on this item? Seeing none, let's go ahead and close public hearing. Commissioners, do I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
We have a motion. Do I have a second? Motion and a second. Any discussion on the motion? Go ahead and take the roll.
Rosenberg,
Aye.
Hess,
Aye.
Cecil,
Aye.
Shuey,
Aye.
Stoffren,
Aye.
Mose,
Aye.
Tassett.
Aye, motion carries. Continuing with Donald, item number 3, 19th Avenue Storage Addition.
Thank you, ma'am. So the next 3 items are a little interesting because you'll have seen some version of these before. So 19th Avenue Storage Addition is located here on 1101 19th Avenue North. For reference, here's the Fargo Dome, 19th Avenue, University Drive, Fargo North High School, my alma mater, right there. This property will look familiar to you because back in February, there was a proceeding we very rarely do, to modify the covenants on the subdivision. That's the underlying subdivision here, Airport First Edition Covenant. Mr. Flaxbarth represented that project at the time, and we'll have a summary of that later on in the slides here. But they were allowed to remove a large tree buffer. What's happening here is you modified the covenants to allow them to do that, but the buffer still appears on the plat, and any easement or buffer that was created on a plat can only be modified by replatting it. So all they're really doing here is the lot's not going to change in size. It's just going to, the new plat will not have the buffer on it. And then there's also a dedication of 10 feet of right-of-way, which was an addition as our staff reviewed it. So again, located there on 19th Avenue. Here's some photos of the site here. This building has been a number of things over many years, including a car dealership and a smoke shop and a coffee shop and an ice cream place. So there's quite a number of views here. This is the tree buffer here. We're looking at 19th Avenue. These are the residences to the east. So here we're looking from 19th Avenue, and here we're walk down the property and we're looking the other way. This is 19th Avenue in the background. The zoning here is LI, Limited Industrial. And the proposed development by Bollinger Enterprises is going to fit into that zoning. Here is the plat. Again, other than the 10-foot dedication here, the lot is not going to change configuration, and this buffer easement will be removed, with this replat. This just is to recap the covenant situation for you. These were the modifications that were made to the covenant, and this is the general layout here of the buildings. This is not a site plan that's up for approval, just general layout of the buildings. And there is both a 10-foot setback and an additional landscape buffer proposed here. So there will still be some separation from the adjacent residences. Again, Mr. Flaxbarth of Cityscapes Development and Brian Pattengale of Houston Engineering are with us this afternoon and may wish to address the commission. We did not get any response from our notification, our standard notification on this. We didn't get any letters or calls. Staff's recommendation is stated in the staff report and shown on the screen. This concludes staff's presentation. Thank you.
Thanks, Donald. Any questions for Donald? Do you want to add anything? Do we have questions for the applicant? Commissioners? Nope? Okay. Let's go ahead and open up public hearing. Anybody wish to speak on this item? Anybody wish to speak? Seeing none, go ahead and close public hearing. Commissioners?
It's great to have a blighted spot cleaned up finally.
I know,
Move to
right?
accept staff findings.
Second. Motion and a second. Haas, second. Any discussion on the motion? Take the roll.
Hess,
Aye.
Stoffren. Mose,
Aye.
Rosenberg,
Aye.
Cecil,
Aye.
Shuey,
Aye.
Stoffren. Tasa.
Aye. Motion carries. Item number 4, Family Healthcare Center Edition.
So again, this one you've seen recently here as stated in your staff report. This location here is along Northern Pacific Avenue, just almost within sight of our building here. Family Healthcare Edition owns all these buildings. There are 7 underlying lots. They are been deed combined into 3 lots. Now they're going to combine it all into one single large lot. Elena Espeseth was the original case planner for this. And here is a view of the buildings here. What happened in this case is your commission recommended this plat for approval, went to the city commission, got approved. At the time, we had talked about a piece of the building here. I'm going to go to the next set of slides. There's this little 2-foot by 80-foot piece of building that back in the old days when buildings used to rely on each other for support, that's left over from a previous building. It's actually on the neighboring property, which is owned by the Forum Communications. It's a parking lot, as you can see. And right before we recorded this, the applicant, Family Healthcare Center, negotiated with Fargo Forum or Forum Communications to acquire this property. It's a narrow strip of property here of this building. And so they elected to rerun the plat again to make sure that that was part of their property. So it's the same plat that's 2 feet longer, basically, that's happening here. The original plat was not recorded, so we could use the same name again. This is in the DMU, Downtown Mixed Use Zone. Again, the uses there are allowed by the DMU zone. And so here shows the underlying lots in Keeney and DeWitt's addition there from 1882, I believe. This was the original plat, this square, and then it shows this 2-foot by 80.5-foot strip attached to it. So this is all one piece of property now, and there's a little piece hanging out there. Representing this project is Brian Pattengale from Houston Engineering. Staff's recommendation is stated in your staff report and shown on the screen. We did not receive any comment from the public in response to the notification. That concludes staff's presentation. Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you, Donald. Any questions, Commissioners, for Donald? Any questions, applicant? Do you have any questions for the applicant? No questions for the applicant. Let's go ahead and open up public hearing. Anybody wish to speak on this item? Seeing none, close public hearing. Do I have a motion?
I so move to approve.
I have a motion. Do I have a second? I have a second. Any discussion on the motion? Go ahead and take the roll.
Cecil,
Aye.
Stoffren,
Aye.
Mose,
Aye.
Rosenberg,
Aye.
Shuey,
Aye.
Hess,
Aye.
Tasa.
Aye, motion carries. And bringing it home, Bucholz Industrial Edition, number 5.
Yes, Commissioners, this one you've seen before too, and this has a sort of a strange fate here I'll go into in a moment. This property is located here in the 1300 block of 43rd Street North. Here's 45th Street North, Drain 40. Our item number 1 was just a ways down or upstream from Drain 40 here. There are 2 buildings and a large open area on this. This does border on the Cass County Drain 40. And in the previous version of this plat, an easement for the required drain setback that Megan Elsog referred to that we usually have, that was already acquired, so that's been taken care of on this plat. This shows the site. These buildings are in use as industrial buildings. This property is zoned GI, General Industrial. These are the uses on it. This area here is the back part of the property. This will be about approximately the area of Lot 1. And then in the background here is 45th Street and then Drain 40, which you can't see. And then this property here is along the east side of the property here. And the plat here, again, shows dividing the existing buildings. So Lot 1 will be that big open area in the back. Lot 2 will be this building and its related area that's existing. And then this smaller building on the south side is Lot 3. This plat was originally called Bucholz Edition, or Buckholz Edition. It was approved by your commission. It was approved by the city commission. And in the time between the time it was approved by the city commission and the time it was submitted for recordation, a plat with a nearly identical name was recorded in Cass County, it is out in rural Cass County. It's not related to this at all, but under the recorder's rules, the plat names were too close together, so they would not record it. There's nothing wrong with the plat, just the names didn't match. We've had a problem with this occasionally before. So Mr. Buckholz then chose the name Buckholz Industrial Edition, which we cleared with the recorder and made sure there was nothing called that. So this is the same plat with a slightly different name here about a year later. Brendan Muldoon of Property Resources Group is representing the project today. The recommended motion is stated in your staff report shown on the screen. Staff did not receive any comment from the public in response to our notification. That concludes staff's presentation. Thank you.
Thanks, Donald. Commissioners, any questions? Okay. Applicant here? No. You are, okay. Anything to add? Do you have any questions for the applicant, commissioners? Okay, we'll make it easy. Let's go ahead and open up public hearing. Anybody wish to speak on this item? Seeing none, go ahead and close public hearing. Commissioners?
Move to accept staff findings.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion on said motion? Seeing none, go ahead and take the roll.
Hess,
Aye.
Mose,
Aye.
Shuey,
Aye.
Cecil,
Aye.
Stoffren,
Aye.
Rosenberg,
Aye.
Tasa.
Aye, motion carried.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you, Donald. Now we are going to have, I'm not sure if you have any questions on things that you've seen on annexation. So this is kind of our opportunity to ask questions, get some information on the annexation.
So while they come up, I was just going to introduce Eric Johnson, one of our city attorney representatives, and Brenda Derrig, our assistant city administrator.
So I was going to introduce ourselves, but
There you go.
since it's done. So I'll let Eric update you all on what's been happening.
Sure. Thank you, Brenda. Thank you, Nicole. Again, Eric Johnson. I'm an assistant city attorney. Been around for a few years, but it's been a while since I've had the pleasure of coming to a planning commission meeting. Nice
You're
to be
missing
here.
out. You really are. Come to LDC.
So, yeah, that's kind of oversold, actually, but that's all right. So happy to sort of respond to questions you have about annexation. Maybe I'll just lead with a little bit of an explanation regarding the north side annexation. So annexation can start either by a petition from property owners or by a resolution from the city commission. The one we're talking about here started with a resolution of annexation by the city commission. That's the start of the process. The issue comes about when you're butting up against another community that might have a competing interest in the same property. And we actually learned this lesson, you might say the hard way, about 20 years ago, 25 years ago almost, when we had an arrangement with another neighboring city. We even had an annexation and extraterritorial jurisdiction agreement. The result of that was we put something on the agenda, normal process, but the other city actually got their foot in the door first by taking the first official act. There was litigation about that, and we certainly, it recognized existing law that just said it's the first official step that sort of gets your foot in the door. And in this particular case, there had been discussion about possible annexation north of the airport, and it seemed appropriate to take that first move. If we didn't, then Harwood to the north might have been able to proceed, and we wouldn't have really had the opportunity to have any standing to really participate in the conversation. So that's sort of the underlying reasoning why our annexation process here led with an annexation resolution. Back in 2003, when we were dealing with that issue long ago, the City Commission actually approved a resolution that authorized staff to sort of take things out of the normal sequence when we're dealing with an issue like that. But rest assured that the planning process still goes on as normal. It's just that the first step ends up being the annexation resolution. We then come back to deal with planning issues, including stepping in front of the Planning Commission and getting your eyes on the issue and getting insight and making recommendations to the City Commission before it's finalized. So
I thought I heard.
maybe I'll stop there and if
I
take
thought
any
I
questions.
heard today that it was that this large acreage, some of it was in their extraterritorial area and some was in Fargo.
Yeah, certainly.
Is that true?
Yeah, some of it certainly was outside of what we recognize as our ET area. And yes, I think Harwood is claiming that they're claiming that the west half of Section 3 is the land in question, is in their extraterritorial jurisdiction, yes.
So how much then is, by acreage, how would that split out?
Well, half of a section
Half.
is outside of our extraterritorial jurisdiction. And again, Harwood is claiming that's in their extraterritorial. So
And there's 900 acres. Is some of that already in Harwood's?
that western half of Section 3, so.
Is already in there.
Right,
City limits.
300 and some acres, 320 acres roughly would be, and the rest is inside what's been recognized as our extraterritorial jurisdiction.
So I live right next to this. So I guess my question is, I know where Fargo's ETJ ends and Harwood's begins. Are you guys, we're saying that where the Harwood is and where Applied Digital is planning on building, that's where Fargo is contesting currently, or are we just annexing the land that Applied Digital owns but doesn't plan to build on?
Right,
Yet.
our annexation, we actually had 3 resolutions of annexation, but they're all simultaneously approved. Yeah, our annexation, we have one annexation resolution that deals with that area on the west half of Section 3 to the west of your home, sir, and that's in, again, outside of our ET jurisdiction. I have, I've read the same accounts you have as to where Applied Digital intends to construct. I don't know for a fact exactly where they intend to construct, but it's in that
Well, they had a
general
map
region.
when they went to the Harwood meeting, so they're
Yeah.
kind of like right there on the border, so. I was just curious if Fargo is still continuing to go after where the actual plans are. A map of kind of like what's being annexed would be awesome, to kind of see how far north and where you guys are going around
Sure.
us.
Like, we can certainly supply that, certainly can supply that to you. Perhaps maybe the easiest way is to circulate it to the planning commissioners. Following this meeting, we can send you a simple PDF document that kind of shows the area that's the subject of our annexation resolutions. But to answer your question, yes, the City of Commission has approved an annexation resolution. Again, that's the start of the process, but for the area I think that you're talking about.
Could you explain?
The process, just to say a little more about it, the typical process is when a city approves, goes forward with an annexation resolution that's in the ET jurisdiction of another city, either that city has to agree to it or it goes through a process. That process starts with mediation, where the governor appoints a mediator, and there's kind of a committee that it would include the two cities, and if there's a protesting property owner, they might be on that committee as well. The governor decides that. And you go through mediation. If the mediation is successful, that sort of connotes that the other city the cities have come to an agreement as to what should be annexed where. If there isn't an agreement, if mediation isn't successful, then the next step is to have an administrative law judge hold a hearing. There are factors that are laid out by statute as to what the judge considers in deciding what the boundaries of the two cities should be relative to this annexation dispute. So that's the process we go through.
Thank you. Are the developers allowed to build during this process?
Yeah, unless there's something unusual, no, there's nothing that stops someone from getting the appropriate zoning and then asking for a permit and so forth.
So in this case, would they be asking for a permit from Harwood if what they tend to develop is in Harwood's ETJ? And then
I believe so, yes.
If annexation is successful, how does that permitting process change, or we've got far more rigorous requirements in Fargo?
Yeah, I presume they would, if I understand from what Harwood has at least started with their meeting just the other night, they've started changing the zoning from agricultural to something that presumably would permit this proposed development. Yes, and if a building permit were requested and then provided, then it would be Harwood that would be responsible for overseeing the project. If there were a change, before the construction was completed, the project ended up in City of Fargo annexed property, then I imagine there would be some kind of handoff of the inspections process for certificate of completion, or certificate of occupancy, excuse me.
You mentioned the process that might go through. What is the timeline, something like that? Are we talking resolution of this happening over a few months or 6 months?
I would say both, one of those two answers could be,
Or
could be
9
long,
months, or-
could be longer than 6 months, yes. I mean, 20 years ago, we ended up resolving it through the mediation process. So it was a matter of months, but seems to me, if I recall, 3 or 4 months before we got to the completion of mediation. Had that not been successful, had we gone on to a hearing, you fit into the administrative law judge's schedule, and I don't think it's a trial that gets on a schedule like in courtroom trials where it might be a year out or something like that. I don't think it would be that lengthy, but certainly would be in that 3 to 6 month and possibly longer range from the start of the process.
So if we were looking at the current map for where the city of Fargo boundary is and where this project is at, are we going leapfrogging over stuff that's not annexed in order to?
No, we are contiguous.
Okay.
Current city limits are contiguous to this entire area.
Property?
Yes. Yep.
Is there approval needed in the process from the Planning Commission before final approval at City Commission?
You're involved in, there's certainly a review process and potential zoning as well, both of which you would have participation in.
Any other questions? Curiosities?
Thanks, it's a hot topic.
No, thank
so,
you,
yeah.
thank you very much, Eric and
Thank you, my
Brenda,
pleasure.
for coming here to update us. And I'm assuming if we have questions when we leave, that we could just pass them on to Nicole or something, right? So,
Yeah, I was gonna say, if you could send the PDF that we talked about, that'd be great, because there might be questions after that, so.
And absolutely, if you want to just send your questions to Nicole, she can forward them on and we can get them answered for you.
thank you very much. We very appreciate you coming to answer our questions.
Sure, happy to answer questions. As you probably see, can't really respond in mass to all of you to the question just because of open meeting requirements, but I certainly can respond to individual questions in that manner. And if we need to have a group discussion, that's certainly possible as well.
Thank you very much.
You bet. My pleasure, thank you.
With that, I will adjourn the meeting. Adjourned. Thank you for coming.